The year's 2012. While the end of the Mayan calendar sent some into an end-of-days craze, there was something else that would change our world forever. The sports card world, that is. That year, a product was released by Panini that included a modest 300-card base set, with 2 autographs being promised per box. The base set also contained 2 parallels. Yep, the first year of Prizm only had 2 parallels, the Prizm and the Gold Prizm in Hobby. Attempting to capitalize on the double rookie class, the Prizm brand made its debut. Hi folks, this is Jacob from JayTaySportsCards. I'm currently putting together a series of videos that attempts to dissect and understand how sports cards are designed. If you haven't already checked it out, I would suggest watching the first video of the series before continuing to watch this one. In that first video, I lay the groundwork for 5 fundamental categories that make up all sports cards designs. These categories include photography-based, shine and color-based, artistic-based, novelty-based, and elegance-based. In the previous video of the series, I discussed how photography influences the popularity of sports cards. Looking at the pictures on the cards is one of my favorite things about collecting, and if you like that as well, I would encourage you to check out that video. To be completely honest, the topic for this video is how shine and color play a prominent role in today's hobby. So why is this video titled about Prizm? Was that just clickbait? Well, kind of. In order to talk about that, we have to talk about Prizm. Prizm is an embodiment of new era collecting. Without Prizm, we don't have the hobby that we do today. It's simple as that. Instead, we have something else. Better, worse, that's not for me to decide. However, it will be helpful for us to understand how it has transformed the hobby and how it is so popular today. So why am I making this video? For one, critically thinking about why I like something helps me to be a better consumer or collector. Have you ever gotten a card of a PC player that you just aren't a big fan of, or maybe you regret buying it? What about a card of a player that you don't PC but that you can't get rid of? Point is, sports cards aren't just about the sports, it's about the kind of cards that are being made. They're called collectibles for a reason. But this just doesn't apply only to collecting. Sports cards are a market as well. What if we can predict which products or sets will be the next hot thing? Predicting what people will like also means that you're predicting the demand. And when there's more demand, we have more buyers and we'll probably have higher prices. Understanding how cards are designed and really identifying what makes popular cards popular can give you a competitive edge in investing as well. Speaking of demand, why is Prizm so popular? And why does it dominate the market? There's a lot of places where we can start, but let's begin by taking a look at the side-by-side comparison of the first year Prizm basketball release versus the most recent release, the 1920 edition in basketball. Taking a few moments to compare the 2 releases, I hope a few things stand out. I hope you notice that the first release has only 3 total variations of the base, while the last one had 40. I hope you notice that the base set remained consistent at 300 and there are still 2 autos per box. I hope you notice that estimated silver Prizm print run increased by approximately 5,000%. If you don't know anything about the releases, 12-13 just had hobby and retail, but under the Prizm name this year, there was hobby, first off the line, retail, blaster, multi-pack, retail, Prizm draft picks, and Mosaic, which was a spin-off from a few years ago, and now it's its standalone, so no longer under the Prizm name. That's a lot of stuff. The biggest conclusion I think we can make from this comparison is that Prizm has blown up. But why? How is this possible? It isn't even marketed as a high-end product, or at least it wasn't. Well, to find out that answer, we must finally get into how Prizm is designed. Let's take a look at this first example, the 2012-13 LeBron James base card. If we want to focus on photography for a moment, notice that LeBron is doing a LeBron game pose, which is cool and everything. And if you even decide to flip the card over to the back, you'll be rewarded with some additional in-game context with a LeBron photo in the front. Is that the year that Miami and the Thunder played in the finals? If so, that'd be a pretty prophetic card. In all reality though, this is a very simple design. No need to find incredible in-game photography, and no other context is given outside of, well, just LeBron. Also, Take a look at those borders. There's an incredible amount of empty space in the border of the card. Nothing fancy, no elegant design, just a really thick chrome border. Let's take a look at how some of those base parallels look. For this green one here, you can definitely tell where the thick borders come in. This is a staple of Prizm, having those thick borders in order to make the parallels stand out as much as possible. Now, Panini even leans more into parallels dominating the product in future years. Compare this first LeBron to last year's LeBron base. Both veteran base cards, but notice how the first one there was some photography context, but for the most recent one, there's almost no context at all. The point here is that parallels are the entire product. Prizm is literally nothing without its Prizm parallels. So let's talk about those parallels a little more. First of all, what is the point of parallels and how do they function in card design? Take a look at this Ja Morant Tiger Stripe Prizm. I would bet that the first thing that you noticed about this card is not Ja Morant, who, if you actually know any basketball, should be able to pick out really quick, but it's the crazy Tiger Stripe design on the border of the card. Parallels must include the following features in order to be effectively used in a product. Parallels should be noticeable, they should be scarce, and they should be fun. First of all, let's take a look at noticeable. Obviously, with that Tiger Stripe one, you can't miss the Tiger Stripes. No way. But take a look at this red Luka. Red still pops, but it's a little bit more conservative than maybe say a card with Tiger Stripes. However, with the really thick borders, there's also no way you can miss the color. To say the least, the design, based on how much of the card the border takes up, is intended to be a prominent feature of the card. There are some other types of parallels across different products that don't do it well. The most notable kinds of cards that parallels don't work out well is the ones where you can't really tell that's a parallel at all. Think of ones that vary maybe in just like the foil lettering, like this one here compared to this one. Sure, if those cards are serial numbered or are scarcer, then they're going to be in higher demand. But in terms of aesthetics of the card, it just doesn't really work out well. The next feature of good use of parallels that I want to highlight is that it should signify authentic scarcity. The idea with this is that parallels should be inserted at a rate that is significantly more scarce than the base cards. This can be accomplished in two ways. You can either decrease the print run of the parallels, or you can increase the base print run. Panini does a fairly good job with this because either the print runs of most of the parallels are low, or if they're higher, mainly think of the numerous retail format parallels, they can only be found in one of those release formats. For example, the fast break parallels are only found in the fast break version of the product. Many of the retail formats, think of retail boxes, blaster boxes, hanger boxes, cello packs, etc., have a unique parallel that can only be found in that product. There might be a lot of that one parallel in that format, but with multiple formats, there's kind of an illusion of scarcity there. Regardless of the print run for each parallel and the kinds of parallels that there are, the parallels should simply be fun. One way to make them fun is to put unexpected and unique patterns on the parallels, not just the simple one-colored patterns. Tiger Stripe is a good example along the snakeskin, and a personal favorite of mine, the barbershop look. I mean, look at this Luka. 2018-19 Prizm, in my eyes, is the best Panini has ever done with the Prizm brand. Beautiful stuff. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And last but not least, regardless of what parallel you have, you cannot wash out the player. Take for example this neon green disco parallel of Ja Morant. The way this card is designed is that most of the focus is on the parallel itself. I mean, look how busy this card is. I think part of the deal is just the way the image might be captured here, but this is an insanely distracting card. Bright hollow circles all over the places, neon green, swirls, arched lines, they all do the trick here. However, notice how the parallel in no way impedes with the actual visibility of the player. Imagine if the neon green fast break design bled into the whole card. It would be hard to tell that was even a Ja Morant card. And at the end of the day, what matters most to everyone in the hobby is simply the player that is on the card. Don't get me wrong, the way the card is designed is extremely important, and that's why we call them collectibles. That's why I'm making these videos. But there is, for obvious reasons, a world of difference between a 101 Ja Morant rookie and say a 101 of the exact same designed card of myself. To be frank, the aesthetic appeal of the card would be exactly the same, except that I'm not a famous basketball player and Ja Morant is. So I just went over a few criteria that to me make for an exceptional use of parallels in products using Prizm as our case study. However, I haven't really answered the question that I set out to answer here, which is why is Prizm so popular? So far, we've only thought about how parallels can be utilized in products, along with how the use of parallels in Prizm has changed over the last 8 years. To really answer the question, we need to consider why Panini has changed the Prizm product. Both consumer and producer kind of react to each other, like in all relationships between businesses and the people that are consumers. Something that I mentioned earlier in this video is that Prizm has 40 parallels this year versus the 3 original in the 2012-2013 basketball release. They most certainly didn't get from 3 to 40 in just a year. Instead, there was a consistent increase from 3 to 11 to 17, back down to 14, up to 18, 33, 45, and now down to 40. And the 40 for this year doesn't even include Mosaic, which for the first time has its own standalone brand outside of the Prizm branding. That is consistent growth. Growth that doesn't happen unless consumers really buy it. And don't give me the argument that since the whole market has been up to historic heights, that Prizm is just riding the wave. Not true. From 2012-13 to 17-18 Prizm basketball, in 5 years, hear you, we go from 3 to 33 parallels. The sports card market was not going up anywhere like that during that time frame. Things really only started to pop up maybe 2 years ago, which is crazy to think about. In addition, there were plenty of products that have been put out by Panini in the last couple years that have been discontinued or don't have a release this year. So just because the market is overall successful right now, we can't just automatically apply that to every product. RIP, status, basketball, among many others. So why does Panini have incentive to pump up a product like Prizm? Well, products are all about the shine and color. They seem limitless. What I mean by that is that demand in the hobby, meaning sheer volume of buyers, has skyrocketed. Therefore, Panini wants to make more product, which makes sense. The question is, what can limit the amount of Prizm that Panini can reasonably produce? On average, Prizm Hobby has promised 1 to 2 autos per box, and that's it. Panini loves that because the logistics of getting autos is much more complicated and expensive than it is to put out different parallel variations. Because in the end, getting autos means that you have to depend on the athletes to sign the cards. And they have to ration out the sticker autos throughout the entire season at least, perhaps even using them in future seasons. Really what I'm getting to here is that access to getting autographs and being able to put them in a product is limited. However, people don't expect Prizm necessarily to do that. People don't buy Prizm for the autos. That's great for Panini because there are no imposed limits on the amount of product they can pump out when they can just print out whatever designs that they want. I'm not trying to disregard the novelty, creativity, and the time commitment needed to create and produce a hit parallel. That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying that Panini doesn't have to go to an outside source to do that. They can do it all in-house. Making parallels is extremely customizable as well. By pumping out so many different types of parallels, we could very well be in a more Prizm parallel saturated market, but still maintain the scarcity of each kind of parallel. This means that Panini doesn't necessarily have to oversaturate the market with one specific kind of parallel in order to increase the number of total parallels in the market. This is really helpful for Panini to make it look like the scarcity is the same while still increasing volume to match the market. Those are all reasons that Panini should love Prizm and should reinforce the fact that they want us to want it, and they're going to do whatever it takes for us to want it because it should be a profitable product for them. However, it is apparent that sports card collectors don't need a whole lot of convincing in regards to Prizm. So why is Prizm so popular? And therefore, why does Prizm dominate the sports card market? Let's compare this Trae Young blue parallel versus the red parallel. Which one do you like more? Unless your favorite color is blue, you're probably going to like the red one better. It's obvious why. The team colors for the Atlanta Hawks, the team Trae Young plays for, is red, and therefore the red border goes beautifully with the team colors. However, as an investor, one of the top things that you should be looking for is the print run. How scarce are the two parallels relative to each other? Well, the blue is out of 199, while the red is out of 299. I can guarantee you, though, that collectors and investors alike will choose the red parallel for Trae Young. The point is this, that with 40 parallels in the 2019-20 Prizm Basketball Edition, there are more than enough colors to go around for everyone. It is extremely customizable. Again, one parallel that looks good for one team might not look good on another, and vice versa. To me, matching parallel color with team colors and calling that a good match is pretty objective, but there's a lot of room for subjectivity as well. One of the big themes with sports is this piece of advice. Collect what you want to collect. There's no right way or wrong way to collect. Because of this widespread philosophy, sports card manufacturers come up with a plethora of different releases each year, each one designed in a unique way, attempting to appeal to at least one segment of the collecting community. That big picture thinking is applied very well with Prizm, since there's an increased amount of options to choose from. Like cracked ice made famous in contenders, get a cracked ice parallel. Like something funky, try the barbershop look or the tiger stripes. Like something that matches your favorite team colors, you most certainly will have one for you. Is your favorite color orange? Get as many as you want. Since there's so much variation, something has to get your attention. You have to like something from Prizm. There's no way around it. And even more than personal desire, consumers are driven by value. They want to know how to be able to evaluate the value of their card. With Prizm parallels, a vast number of these parallels are serial numbered, or if they aren't, you can get a good guess at the print run. In that case, it makes it easy for new wave collectors and investors to assess value. Since the majority of the product revolves around its base set and parallels, there are mainly two questions that need to be asked in order to assess the relative value of a card. How good is the player, and what is the print run of the card? I admit this isn't necessarily a perfect example. Take, for instance, Prizm Silvers. Nowadays, the print run is much higher than many of the other parallels, even though the market value for the silver now is extremely high. However, with increased print run, that could change, but that's a story for another day. So here we are. Prizm has mastered the art of the parallel. Not only that, but they have mastered the art of making a card that is shiny and colorful and with enough diversity to draw the attention of any collector. Here's the thing, as long as Panini doesn't straight up kill Prizm with overproduction or something like that, I think it's here to stay through the thick and thin. It's crazy to think that the most popular product in the market today is also one of the most simple. I hope y'all enjoyed this journey in trying to understand why Prizm is so popular. Even though Prizm was the only product discussed in this video was technically about how shine and color play a role in sports card design. However, the pinnacle of shine and color in the hobby is with Prizm, so as long as you understand Prizm, you understand the rest of them as well. Even though other products weren't discussed, I believe they still deserve a shout out. The most notable of these include products like Bowman Sterling, XR, Phoenix Certified, usually, Mosaic, Spectra, my favorite photo, shine, color hybrid, optic or chrome, and another popular photo hybrid, which includes a lot of die cuts, and that is Select. The purpose of this series is to encourage the sports card community to think critically about how sports cards are designed. When we do, we can become more educated consumers, rejecting products that simply do a bad job, and we can start collecting the things we actually want to collect, even more so. We can also be more savvy investors, predicting which products and sets the markets will receive most favorably, and thus can give you an upper hand in the investing world. Thank you all for taking the time to check out this video. I appreciate you for watching the content that I create. Let me know if you liked the video by clicking the like button, and let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below. Why do you think Prizm is so popular? If you want to see more of the content, make sure to subscribe to our channel, and if you want, you can hit the notification bell so that you'll never miss another video we make. Justin and I also have more content on the channel on the horizon, including box breaks, mail day videos, and more, and with more unique content soon. Thanks for watching, and until next time, this is Jacob signing off from JayTaySportsCards.